We're covering abdominal muscles and just focusing on the four primary muscles that make up the abdomen, and that's our external oblique, internal oblique, rectus abdominis, and transversus abdominis. I threw in a couple appendicular just to get our bearings of where we're at in the body when we're talking about abdominal muscles. When we look at models and charts, they get a little bit different, but I think just getting associated with the terms and general direction helps with learning the material. So let's briefly just talk about some of our muscles, but starting with the appendicular at the top. Number one here is called serratus appendicular. This is an appendicular skeletal muscle versus the others we'll look at is an axial muscle. But these help with when we talk about like protraction. Remember, protraction is protruding forward. So something like if we were to reach for something, if you're punching, this is helping with that movement. So serratus anterior is supposed to look like a serrated knife on the anterior side. So that's why we call it serratus anterior. So one of our movements going forward to protract. And then we get into our abdominal muscles. So we start with all of this. Number two is our external oblique. When you look at cadavers and you associate the fibers and how they move, they tend to run at a V. So if I focus on all the muscle fibers, and as they come down here, they come down, and if I had shown it on the other side, on this part of external oblique, it actually forms a V. So the V comes down and then comes over. And so this V, because of this pattern, it helps us to bend and twist, but it's going the opposite of the vertebral column. So it's bending and twisting, but we call it the opposite of the vertebral column, versus when we look at internal oblique, same thing, we're rotating the vertebral column, but it's towards the same side that we're bending and twisting. The internal oblique goes the opposite. It's an upside down V because they're complementing each other, because they're going different directions. So if I went deep to number two and I come over to four, so I took away external oblique, and then I also took away my rectus abdominis, which is number three. But then if I look at these fibers, they're going the opposite way, that they're actually creating more of an up to go like this. So they're going up and then down. Some will teach it like it's an A, you're just missing the middle piece of the A, but it's an upside down V, versus external oblique is the opposite. So that crossing complements each other in how you can twist and bend with your vertebral column. So I have serratus anterior, external oblique. We looked at internal oblique, and then what we often refer to as our six pack is all of this is rectus abdominis to keep the abdomen erect. But really what it's doing is helping us to flex our vertebral column. So we're flexing forward, and we often refer to this when we do crunches. So as we do crunches, we're flexing the vertebral column. And remember where it originates and inserts. So it originates up at the top here. And so it's doing it at some of our ribs and the xiphoid process of the sternum. Where it comes down and inserts is down at the pubic bone, at the pubis. So that helps me to give me those crunches. And when you do that, you can feel the insertion at the distal side and the lower part of the muscle. So our rectus abdominis, as I go deep to rectus abdominis, and then I go deep to internal oblique, then I see transversus abdominis. Transversus abdominis because the fibers are running at a transverse angle. So remember, we learned our angles, oblique, transverse. What's equivalent to it is the transverse abdominis is part of that ability to compress the abdomen. So it helps us to compress, but it's our deepest muscle. And so when we refer to like our core and our stability, this is one of our muscles that help develop the core, because it's one of our deepest muscles to maintain that posture. And we think about our core for stabilization. When we look at superficial to deep, the most superficial is our external oblique, and then internal oblique, but internal oblique is at the same level as rectus abdominis. Our deepest of the four is transversus abdominis for the abdominal muscles. But then I'll go deeper and I'll look at another appendicular muscle, number six, this big rod on either side here, and here is called the psoas major. Psoas major helps to flex the hip and then some of our lumbar joints at the vertebral column on the lumbar side. So it helps with flexion, but it's an appendicular muscle. You might also hear the muscle iliacus. Iliacus is right on the medial fossa of the ilium, and we refer these together as called iliopsoas. So some books you'll see them together. Iliopsoas is the iliacus, this shape of this muscle, this flatter muscle that's on the ilium, and then the big rod is psoas major. But these are appendicular muscles. I like to teach them together because they help to understand our four main abdominal muscles of external oblique, internal oblique, rectus abdominis, and transversus abdominis. So hopefully this is a quick review on abdominal muscles, understanding the layers and how the fibers are organized to give you that action. We use this to understand this in a study guide I created. Click on the link below to learn more about the muscular system.